And welcome to CT Politics Live. I am Jimmy J, in for Joe Aguirre.
And I'm Amy Chai, in for Michelle Vitello.
We have all the latest headlines affecting Connecticut. How are you tonight, Doctor?
Doing great, getting ready for the holidays. How about you?
Don't remind me. I mean, Christmas is only, 5 days away, and I don't think I'm ready, to be honest.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's not good in the Jimmy J household tonight.
You'll make it. You'll get through it.
Oh, absolutely. I think Friday is my push day.
Yeah.
Get it all done. What do you say? You want to jump right into these?
Sure.
All right. According to Julia Bergman from Hearst, New Canaan recently became the latest Connecticut municipality to approve the use of license plate readers, with officials there citing an increase in stolen cars as the main impetus for purchasing the cameras. New Haven is spending $12 million for 500 new video surveillance cameras and to expand its ShotSpotter gunshot detection system. New London and Norwich also purchased new camera systems. Stamford is installing 50 cameras at 30 different locations in the city. Glastonbury is also considering purchasing the devices. I'm definitely noticing more public displays of the use of surveillance technology in Connecticut. More and more towns are hopping on the bandwagon, said Claudine Constant, Public Policy and Advocate Director for the Connecticut chapter of the American Civil Liberties Union. Look at some of the challenges in law enforcement right now. There are staffing shortages pretty much across the board. These can be a bit of a force multiplier for us, says the town of Groton Police Chief Louis J. Fasaro Jr., a vice president of the Connecticut Police Chiefs Association. They're like police officers at the corner that work 24/7, 365 days. They don't get sick and they don't get paid overtime. We don't want to surveil the public. The First Amendment is critical to us. We want to make sure we utilize technology in a way that's ethical, legal, and transparent, he said. The ACLU has also critiqued the opaqueness surrounding the technology's use. For example, police in Connecticut are not required to detail how they are using the information nor where the cameras are located. Connecticut lawmakers have shown little interest in regulating the scanners. The Connecticut chapter of the ACLU advocated for legislation in 2012-2013 that would have required the deletion of license plate scan data. But the effort failed to get traction in the General Assembly. It's unknown exactly how many of these readers exist throughout Connecticut, as there's no reporting requirement for municipalities. So there's no centralized list detailing which cities and towns are using the technology.
Well, wow. Cameras everywhere.
Cameras are everywhere, and they are essential nowadays in solving some of the more high-profile crimes, shall we say?
Yes.
And we have a problem with car thefts in the state of Connecticut, catalytic converter thefts that we've detailed on this program. So I don't know if cameras are a good idea or a bad idea. I think it's going to depend on how they're being utilized and what the legislation around them will be.
Yeah, I kind of agree. And I just had to correct the police chief said he was concerned about the First Amendment. I think it's more the Fourth Amendment, which would be, search and seizure rather than freedom of speech. But even so, I'm just curious. Why do you think the General Assembly doesn't want to make any laws regulating the use of these cameras? Like, I would like to see the data deleted after a certain time period. If a crime's not committed after a week, just scrub the data. What do you think about that?
I actually don't like that, because there are crimes, cold cases that get solved after 15 years. So, who knows, a crime committed today could be solved 15 years from now. A murder could be solved just because of a piece of surveillance that they collected 15 years ago. And it's a tough one to make up your mind on, because you feel for victims of cold cases, you feel for their families, and you want resolution for them. And this could be another way of getting that resolution. But again, my privacy is my privacy.
Right. And I think really that's an important balance that we're always looking for. And that is the balance between privacy rights and security.
Right.
And it almost seems as though we're developing a little bit of a surveillance state, which in some cases could be good. It makes you safer. But in other cases,
You
it
have to
could be
really.
bad because you don't know, especially in the case that there's really no legislation surrounding how this information is used. The thought that this could be used somehow against us in some sort of a way makes me really concerned about how they're going to use that information. What do you think?
I agree wholeheartedly. It could definitely be used in a ill way.
Mhm.
So I believe that before, you know, these things should be put in full circulation. That there needs to be some kind of legislation. There needs to be some kind of regulation involved with and transparency more than anything. Right? We want to know
Right.
how. We want to know when. We want to know why. And I think if we all got those answers, I think we'd feel a little bit more comfortable with it.
Yeah, I think you're right. And, I certainly hope now they're saying that a lot of these cameras are going to be purchased with some of the COVID funds that cities have gotten. So I just hope as we get more and more of these cameras that our legislator takes a look at this issue and finds a really good way to kind of balance the security with our privacy rights. That would be ideal to me.
Absolutely.
So, next, according to the Hartford Business Journal, New Britain Mayor Aaron Stewart now has a 10-year contract with High Tone Ag Grid LLC to receive the output, which is electricity, to power 3 elementary schools. And this electricity comes from a 1,000-acre dairy farm in Coventry, which has been owned by the same family for 4 generations. The farm has 375 adult and 240 baby cows, which generate, oh my goodness, 12,000 gallons of manure daily. Aki, the founder and CEO of Ag Grid Energy, based in Kennett Square, Pennsylvania, is constructing Connecticut's second farm anaerobic digester that produces electricity. The first at Fort Hill Farm in Thompson was also built by her company. It went into operation in December of 2020. At High Tone, manure will flow into a digester, which is a massive airtight dome where microorganisms will break down the organic materials, such as carbon, in the absence of oxygen. And then they'll release biogas, which is mostly methane. Now, no junior high jokes here. The equipment captures and burns the methane, converting it into carbon dioxide that is used to produce 550 kilowatts of electricity. The material left over from the anaerobic digestion process is called digestate, a nutrient-rich substance that High Tone Farm will use as fertilizer. The anaerobic digester at High Tone Farm in Coventry will convert cow manure and food waste into biogas, which is pumped into an engine to generate heat and electricity. High Tone's digester also processes food waste, which contains even more carbon than manure. In phase 2 of the project, Aki plans to install equipment that will depackage food waste, removing plastics and other contaminants from the organic matter that gets processed the same way as the manure. In and out, I guess. Aki expects High Tone to begin producing electricity in January and to receive solid waste permits from the State Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, the DEEP, by the second quarter of 2023. High Tone is expected to generate 3.7 million kilowatt hours of electricity per year, which is enough to power 342 homes, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. In addition, High Tone will receive tipping fees from waste suppliers, which now have to transport food waste. to landfills in other states. And I think for us, that's mostly Pennsylvania and New Jersey. The facility is expected to divert 20,000 tons of food waste annually.
God.
In July 2011, the DEEP implemented a new law that bans the disposal of commercial organic waste by businesses and institutions that dispose of 2 tons or more of these materials per week. Instead of landfilling that organic waste, state law now requires it to be recycled. Since July 2022 closure of the Materials Innovation and Recycling Authority's Hartford trash incinerator plant, most food waste is being trucked outside the state. Connecticut has the 3rd highest average electricity retail prices among the lower 48 states, right after Massachusetts and California, according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration. Most of Connecticut's electricity comes from natural gas-fired plants. Renewable resources provide about 5% of Connecticut's electricity net generation in 2021, according to the EIA.
So this is pretty cool. I'm not going to lie to you. Cow crap.
I know. I'm really impressed by this. I think it's a wonderful story. It's actually a negative carbon system where you just take the carbon dioxide, you put it into a hydrocarbon. We've got the methane, and then you just oxidize it, burn it, and you get the energy out of it. And it really kills 2 birds with 1 stone. It disposes of the waste, and it also generates electricity at the same time. And it also lowers the carbon dioxide. I mean, what could be better than that, right?
Seriously, this is the triple threat of wins right here, I guess. And I mean, we talked about it again on the show. New Zealand trying to outlaw or tax burps and
tax burps
stuff on cows. In New Zealand, they're going to tax farmers on the methane that their cows produce. And then over here, hell, we can now make the cow farts into energy.
Oh, that is just amazing. You know, science, I love science, and I'm just very encouraged for the future when I see stories like this, thinking of, how in the future we're going to be able to really solve some of our most complicated problems. All we need to do is have kids study their math. So kids,
Right.
get busy, do your homework, right?
That's right. Oh my God. Well, going back to business here, according to Harriet Jones of the Hartford Business Journal, some experts say that Connecticut's fully insured small group health insurance market is broken. Connecticut announced last month that it was exiting the fully insured small group market, and it was the second insurance carrier to do so last year. Harvard Pilgrim was the first. Fully insured small group health insurance plans are those health insurance plans that are sold to employers to offer their employees. Small business pays substantially more than large businesses for the same health insurance coverage. This means that small group insurance plans sold to small businesses are a lot more expensive. This is a major concern for Connecticut small businesses. A primary reason for the higher cost of small group health insurance is that a small business can't bargain with the insurance company. Small group premiums are set by the insurance company, and once set, premiums are not negotiable and can't be discounted. By contrast, premiums for large group health insurance for health plans are negotiated between the employer, the employer's broker or benefit consultant, and the insurance company. Connecticut's bailout left just a handful of insurers offering such plans in the state: Anthem, United Healthcare / Oxford, and Cigna. Wow, only 3. Since 2018, Athena has offered only one plan on the market. I hate that word. That landscape has prompted a number of experts in the field to utter the words market failure. There were warning signs about Connecticut's intentions at a hearing held by the state insurance department this summer into requested double-digit premium rate increase. Connecticut at the time talked about the significant loss they're experiencing, especially in the fully insured small group market, said Connecticut Business and Industry Associate CEO Chris DiBentima. That's just not sustainable for them to continue to lose that amount of money. For insurance brokers serving those businesses, the exit leaves them in a tight spot. Providing less choice to my client is always bad, said Jason, a partner at Professional Business Insurers of West Hartford. Anytime you have less competition, prices tend to go up. He also said Connecticut exit is bound to have a knock-on effect on the remaining carriers that may be asked to absorb the company's book of business. If a broker like me takes one of my many Connecticut small group plans and I move them to Cigna or Blue Cross or Oxford, they have to take them. They have to take them, he said. It's guaranteed issue. They can't deny them. So what happens? Their block of business gets unhealthier by default. And that makes rate requests go up even further. The public option in Connecticut that has met legislative efforts in recent years to adopt a state-sponsored health plan for small businesses and nonprofits has been stoutly opposed by the insurance industry, legislative Republicans, and the CBIA. The public opinion is a competition to undermine, disrupt, and ultimately eliminate the healthcare insurance industry, said Senate Majority Leader Kevin Kelly of Stratford. In Connecticut, we like to fashion ourselves as the insurance capital of the world, and the industry employs somewhere in the neighborhood of 40,000 to 50,000 jobs and families. So when you talk about the public option, you can't ignore that. Less competition is always bad. Another company leaving the state of Connecticut, leaving the middle class, just hurting again.
Yeah, and it's very unfortunate. I think we see this struggle for small businesses in Connecticut. And pretty much everything that the small business owners face seems to be more challenging for them than it is for the larger businesses.
Yeah, I don't quite
And
understand that.
yeah, and it's like especially the health insurance, which is a huge, huge chunk out of these employers, their profits.
Yeah.
So, and they want to do right by their employees. And now that they're facing these double digit increases in these benefit packages, they have two options. I mean, they can pass the costs on to us, which, they'll have to do,
Yep.
or they can try to force their employees onto state health plans like Husky. So I don't know what way that this is going to go in the future. What do you think?
I really hope that it doesn't go in the way of the state. I hope that, I don't see how wages can go up to help these guys offset their cost of their health insurance. So I think they're just going to have to eat the bullet on this one. I personally would rather them absorb that cost on their own than go to a state-funded program. The more it just seems like we're just handing more and more and more over to the state. And that's not a good thing in my humble opinion.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of factors to look at in this instance. First of all, like Representative Kelly said, there's the issue of actually the problems with employment here in Connecticut, where in the insurance industry is a very big industry. And then there's also the issue of, who's going to pay for the costs that need to be covered in these full coverage plans. And, finally, why is our health system so costly in the first place? And that is a whole bag of worms, unfortunately.
It's like a week long. That 5 episodes in a row, I think we could talk about why health insurance is so expensive.
Yeah, we could talk about this all day. And, I certainly have a lot to say about this as a physician. But I think there's also the issue that we may have to have a lot more differences in premiums depending on people's lifestyle habits, to be honest. And that's the only way you may end up making it more fair for people.
An individualized healthcare system.
Correct. It has to, we have to make things, because we're not all the same. We're not all widgets. And this is a tough problem. It's a very tough problem. And, I hope our legislature will be addressing this upcoming again in the next session. I think they will.
Let's hope so.
So, according to the Connecticut Inside Investigator, the Materials Innovation and Recycling Authority, MIRA, will face a Freedom of Information Commission hearing on Monday over an illegal executive session that resulted in a secret contract enhancement the quasi-public trash and recycling agency handed out to a vendor that was worth $2.4 million. The vendor, North American Energy Services, is responsible for major repairs and vendor solicitation for MIRA and the trash incinerator plant in Hartford, which is facing closure this year. Matthew Hennessy, managing director of Tremont Public Advisors, a lobbying firm based in Washington, D.C. and Connecticut, filed a complaint against MIRA regarding the agency's board holding an executive session in May of 2021, resulting in, quote, the award of a no-bid contract enhancement to MIRA vendor NAES Corporation worth at least $2.4 million, unquote, according to a press release from Tremont. At the time of the secret contract enhancement, and I love the way they say secret contract enhancement. That makes it sound better, I guess. MIRA was publicly suing NAES Corporation in court for multi-million-dollar losses by the agency and local municipalities, alleging the, quote, gross negligence, unquote, of its employees contributing to the failure of MIRA's power plant in 2018, the press release said. The 2018 failure of MIRA's trash-to-energy plant in Hartford caused massive piles of trash to build up and forced MIRA to transport the trash out of state, creating a logjam for Connecticut municipalities. After years-long efforts to upgrade the plant with either private or public funds failed, the MIRA board voted late last year to shut the plant down by July 1st, 2022, and truck about 500,000 tons of trash to out-of-state landfills. With the approximately 400,000 tons already being shipped out of state, more than a third of the state's 2.4 million tons of garbage will be buried in another state. Hundreds of thousands of tons of construction and demo debris, which is not counted or treated as municipal solid waste, also are shipped out of state to out-of-state landfills by private contractors. While the plant was eventually restored to working conditions, MIRA voted to decommission the plant. However, the plan to shutter the plant and convert it to a transfer station is at odds with Connecticut's Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. MIRA was chided by the FOIC earlier this year over a series of Freedom of Information complaints, alleging that the agency held executive sessions without properly noticing the public on what topic would be addressed in those sessions.
Well, I think we've solved this problem. We're just going to take all the food trash and send it to Coventry on that cow farm, aren't we? Isn't that what we're just going to do now?
I think that's a good place to start. The fact that they didn't keep the trash to energy plant well maintained was a huge failure, I think, on the part of the state. And the fact that that entire plant was shut down, that's just created a whole slew of new complaints and new problems, especially with solid waste in Connecticut. And, the fact that we produce a lot, and a lot of it is plastics or unrecyclables or waste that's going to generate a lot of carbon dioxide as it decomposes. This is also an environmental issue as well.
trash has always been an issue. Isn't Staten Island half a landfill? Isn't like half of Staten Island is a landfill, is it not?
Well, I don't know, but Connecticut certainly isn't a landfill because it seems like we're trucking it
No,
all
of
out of
course not.
state.
We're too good to be a landfill.
We're
We're
too good
shipping
to
it
be
out
a
to other
landfill.
people to deal with.
Someone else can take all of our trash away.
That's
But it's
right.
unfortunate. And really about this, the worst thing about this article is that our state seems to have a problem with no bid contracts. And we've seen this before. We've seen it with Semaphore during the COVID, and we're seeing it again with these contract bids. Um, Transparency is what the taxpayers want. Transparency is what we, I think, deserve. And we deserve to have the best opportunity to have the kind of negotiations that we can all be proud of, that are fair and honest and not no bid contracts. But we'll see where that goes.
I swear to God, no big contracts make me so angry. I actually did contracts in the military, which use government funds, and I never got to do a no bid contract. I had to do 3 bids for a pen. It was awful.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So, the way how these guys get away with it, or anybody gets away with it, is beyond me. But hey, let's move on to the weather report so I don't lose my temper here, huh?
Good idea. Let's cool it off with a weather report.
Yeah, there we go. Fair weather continues. Storms move in before Christmas. This week continues with fair weather, and meteorologists are tracking storms that will arrive later this week and could impact people who will be traveling ahead of Christmas. Today or tonight, there will be lows around 27 or 19 degrees tonight. I believe we're going to get cold. Tomorrow will be mostly sunny with highs near 39. Like I said, meteorologists are tracking some storms that arrive on Thursdays. The showers will develop in the afternoon and evening. It will be pouring rain on Thursday night and into Friday. Friday will be very windy with heavy rains. Damaging winds are possible with gusts of 30 to 60 miles an hour. There's 1 to 3 inches of rain likely. The precipitation will end and temperatures will fall fast. Flash freezing is possible over the weekend. Christmas weekend looks fair and chilly. Highs during the weekend stay in the mid-20s. So a little colder for Christmas this year.
Well, great. Actually, we need a little bit of cold. I guess we probably won't be getting a white Christmas, though.
Doesn't sound like it.
Unfortunately for us, but maybe not unfortunately for travel. And travel this year, we have the end of Hanukkah coinciding with Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. It's going to be a very heavy travel time. And according to the New Haven Register, in this holiday season, airport travel in Connecticut is approaching pre-COVID levels as holiday passengers return and local airports expand their services, according to state officials. 3 years ago, 7.3 million Americans nationwide traveled by air during the Christmas and New Year holiday season, according to the AAA. About 7.2 million are expected to do so this year. During the Thanksgiving holiday travel period from November 18th to the 27th, tens of thousands of travelers made their way through Bradley International Airport, Connecticut Airport Authority spokesman Ryan Tenney said. In similar fashion, we anticipate passenger traffic over the Christmas and New Year's holidays to also be near pre-pandemic level, Tenney said. The travel period typically runs from the week before Christmas until the week after New Year's, depending on when the holiday falls or is observed. In 2019, about 281,000 passengers boarded planes in December at Bradley, according to the data. But in 2020, the number dipped by nearly 200,000 to only 81,000 passengers. Last year, about 223,000 passengers left from Bradley in December, according to the data. While most recent numbers for 2022 dates to September, passenger numbers for September 2022 are higher than September 2021 by about 20,000 passengers. Bradley is the state's largest and busiest airport, but Tweed New Haven Airport is rising in popularity with the recent addition of Avelo Airlines as a carrier, beginning in November of 2021.
You traveling?
I am driving up to Boston, but I think we're going to have great weather, so not worried at all. How about yourself?
I'm staying home. I don't travel.
Oh,
I'm not traveling during the holidays. I'll do it on the off peak seasons, but not during the holidays. I don't.
well, you'll probably enjoy being at home. It's easier, less stress. You can just chill out, relax, have a couple days off. It's going to be great.
Absolutely.
We're going to have fun.
All right. Hey, guys, those are your headlines. Thank you. You're still watching CT Politics Live. We're going to take a quick break, and we come back. Our guest for this evening is the chairman of the Stair Party, Alex Darlington. Stick around.
CT Politics TV and the Connecticut Taxpayers Union present On Affordable America with Daniel Kent Newmeyer, Joe Patrina's band Little House, focusing on Connecticut.
Now get yourself ready, go cat go. Ooh, yeah.
Entertaining and taking an educational look at nonpartisan issues of affordable living in America.
Born in a land where we wave 'em high.
All points of view are welcome.
And we got blue angels climbing in the sky. I'm the luckiest guy in America. I'm the luckiest man born in America.
Join the Connecticut Taxpayers Union right now at ctpolitics.tv.
Born in America.
All right. Welcome back, everyone, to CT Politics TV. My name is Jimmy J, in for Joe Aguirre. That is Dr. Amy Chai, in for Michelle Botello. And we are joined now by our guest tonight, the chairman of the Stair Party, Alex Darlington. Alex, welcome.
Great to be here.
Thanks
I know
so
Amy
much for
has a lot of
coming on.
questions for you.
Yes. Just to tell our viewers a little bit about Alex Darlington. He is from Pennsylvania. He is the chairman of a new party that you may not have heard of before. It is a third party. It's called the Stair Party. And let me just read a brief excerpt from their homepage. The Stair Party is a direct response to the failure of the two-party system and the outcry nationwide for decisive action. Sorry.
There you go.
So, decisive action. So this is a great thing. Alex, can you tell me a little bit about what got you interested in politics?
Well, I will say that since I was around 13, I've been interested in politics. And then around 16 years old, I started to volunteer. I started off in the Green Party. Not that I necessarily agreed with everything that they were saying, but I wanted to increase third party prominence. I've never really been, because of my family's been fairly anti-establishment themselves. I never really identified as a Republican or a Democrat. I hanged around in the Green Party for a bit. After some disagreements, I decided that it was time to do my own thing and see where it went. That's when I started the Stair Party. I was around 17 years old, I believe. I started, I think I was around 18 years old. February 2021 is when I started. It officially launched. And now we've just been cruising along since then.
That
Hey,
is
real quick,
awesome.
I don't want to interrupt, but did you say when you started it was 2021? So you're not even legally allowed to drink yet, if I'm and finding yourself the chairman of a political party, that's got to be exciting. And tell me about your journey to that point.
My journey. So it's actually very interesting. Right now, I do identify myself as a moderate individual, but it wasn't always like that. I started off as a conservative when I was, in 2016, I would say I identified as I would say your don't want to use average, but run-of-the-mill conservative. I like Ben Shapiro. I like the change my mind guy. Then I switched drastically. At one point, believe it or not, I was an anarcho-communist. Can you believe that? That is quite the churn. And then
yeah.
and this is where I have like a joke political theory called defaultism, where you become so extreme that you just kind of default into becoming a moderate. And that's what happened around 16 years old. That's when I was like, I'm a moderate, because I don't want to say, I guess both sides. I saw what both sides could bring, and here, that's where I am now. That's my political journey. That's the long and short of it.
Wow. So you're a very young man, and do you consider yourself? I mean, when I've ran for Congress, I spoke to a number of people who were in college, and so many of them sort of treated politics as kind of like the third rail. They didn't want to touch it. They would say, "Oh no, I'm not interested in politics. I'm not even registered to vote." And I was discouraged listening to that. And that's why I'm so excited about having you on the show today. As a young person, do you consider yourself kind of a representative of your generation? And what kind of response are you getting from people who are college students like yourself?
I do not consider myself a representative of my generation. I think there is actually recently something happened. It's this guy on Twitter. He's a Biden representative, I believe, the youngest one. I forgot his name.
I know who you mean.
Yes, and
I can't remember his
he
name either. Yeah.
constantly speaks for Generation Z, and I'm like,
Yeah.
you don't speak for me whatsoever. Please stop saying Generation Z will win the thing for the Democrats. Like, I don't associate. I don't like your institution. Please leave me out of this. So I don't want to say I'm a representation for Generation Z whatsoever. I will say that it's very interesting that you've seen in your area, the generation, the young people that you've talked to be rather apolitical. I've seen kids my age be apolitical, and I think there's a few factors to that. Number one, it's very difficult to talk, really get into the deep and dirty details now, because of you got to watch your words all the time now,
Yeah.
or else you risk offending someone, and therefore it's and therefore it's hard to talk about politics. So I understand the sentiment of being apolitical, and sometimes I don't know if you've heard of like doomer sentiment, where basically it's like the world's going to end, whatever.
No.
Yeah,
I've heard boomer, but not doomer.
It's a type of philosophy, like internet philosophy. It's a chronically online political philosophy where you're just like, the world's going to end, whatever. I'm not going to do anything about it. But at least in my area, at least maybe it's because of the people I hang around, the group bias, basically, where the people I hang around, they're quite interested in politics, and they're very worried about the direction of the United States right now, and they really want to see a change. So it's interesting that the majority of the young people you talk to in your area has been rather apolitical, and like, I don't want to talk about any of this, because the area I live in the Lehigh Valley, not the Lehigh Valley area, but the Berks County area, the young people I talk to at my university are very political.
Well, I think that you probably hit the nail on the head. I think people are actually like afraid to speak their mind because they're afraid of saying the wrong thing, and getting called out on it. And, that's one of the problems that we're having, that I think is really a consequence of the divisiveness of our duopoly, our kind of toxic two-party system. How do you feel like the Stair Party will unite or potentially ameliorate this toxic division?
Well, I think it starts with what you promote. So we really support the bridge building movement, which is you can see it most in the Listen First Coalition, where it's a 300 plus organizations trying to heal the divide in America. So it's the people, it's the culture you build in your own organization that allows you to at least help out in a small way and work with the proper organizations that help with fighting and combating polarization. Because I mean, the Stair Party they're not like, we don't have a PhD in that type of stuff. So we do have, we go to the professionals, say, how do you do this? How do you have proper conversations? For the duopoly, the Stair Party's biggest way that we try to combat it is our local platform for our local issues policy, in which we encourage every local chapter to basically set out to bring their own local platform to the area and be local problem solvers. Because at least in my opinion, I don't think that on the national level right now, it's not the time right now to run for, U.S. Senate or U.S. House. I think it's good for publicity for a party. And you have to do, I believe in the Senate or the governor, you have to do it for, what do you call it? You have to do it to get ballot access, I believe, in some states. But for when it comes to actually making some progress and getting down and dirty, trying to make some policy changes and trying to create a community, trying to get communities to be more anti-establishment, that starts on the local level. And it starts with just helping out, rather than what I've seen in a lot of organizations and political parties is they have a parasitic relationship with their community, in which they act like local recruiting centers for the national organization. And we are completely against that. I want to make sure that every single chapter makes a difference in the local community, whether it's helping out in their local community garden, starting some food drives, or even in universities, helping out with the student government.
So all politics is local, and that's the place where you plan to start bringing people together and start making a difference. I think that's very wise. How many states do you have representatives in so far?
Elected officials?
Or no, it's very, very hard to get elected officials. Just membership or people who you feel are affiliated with a party.
So we have chapters, I believe, I got to think off the top of my head. I know that we're starting something in Connecticut.
Yes.
We have something in Rhode Island starting up, something in Minnesota. I have my own chapter in Pennsylvania for my university. There's something in Pittsburgh starting up, North Carolina, Louisiana, and depending on how things go, there should be something started up in Wisconsin. I believe a chapter started up in Wisconsin and a chapter started up in New York.
So talking about the Connecticut branch, I think we have your website scrolling on our ticker right now. Can you tell us a little bit about, if you're, I don't want to just say a young person, but particularly young people, and also people who are interested in kind of breaking the stranglehold of the duopoly, how would they start becoming one of your affiliate members?
Well, it depends where you want to be. You know what I mean? If you want to be a chapter leader, there is some different standards and expectations for what you need to do, because I don't want you to just say, hey, we're starting a chapter and then do nothing. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not interested in having markers on a map and saying, look how many chapters we have, and exaggerating and doing all that hyperbole that we see in a lot of organizations. I'm not about that. If it's about social media, we need help everywhere, basically. It doesn't matter where you want to be. Mostly, if you want to start, it's chapters where we need people starting up and helping out in their local communities. But basically, just talk to me. We're pretty easy to reach out to. We try to go off of that sort of idea during the founding years of the of the American nation, where you could just walk into the treasurer's office and say, I have an issue, and you can just sit down and have a cup of coffee with the treasurer of the United States or the secretary. So we have fast response times, and I will make sure to set up a meeting with you if you want to help out.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit more about your platform for people who are interested?
Yeah. So the way that we operate is basically the national platform only deals with issues that pertain to the federal government or nationwide efforts. So if you look on our platform, you'll see foreign policy, obviously. You'll see Stairism, which is kind of a way to just basically say that to promote that local platform for local issues idea, as well as to say that the federal government is there to prevent discrimination as well. Just because, you know, we're fairly autonomous with our chapters and letting people do their own thing, but can't be racist or homophobic. That's not that's not on the line. One of our biggest things, I think, is our Revive the Rust Belt initiative. We want to make sure that, I think a lot of our jobs have been unfairly shipped overseas. And I think if we really put our mind to it, we would like to see it happen through automation in the way of, I think the way that we can see a revival of the Rust Belt is through becoming more competitive on the global market. And that way is through innovation. In order to prevent the Rust Belt from rusting, bring those jobs back through manufacturers. And you already see it in warehouses now. They're starting to automate, and there's a lot of pros and cons to that. But that's one of our biggest things, is the Revive the Rust Belt initiative. We're definitely pro-environmentalist. We don't want to see our beautiful nation be destroyed and by these large corporations and the government as well. So, I mean, I'm going a little all over the place, but the basics of it is that the national platforms deals with federal issues and nationwide efforts that need to happen in order to make sure the nation goes towards a prosperous direction. And going back to that local platform for local issues, we are big supporters of decentralization.
Okay. So it's kind of almost very 10th Amendment-y in that sort of letting people at the local level kind of do self-governance, and the federal level just be sort of more the uniting factor. So that would be like a smaller federal government with laws and regulations that seem to be more decentralized to the states and local governments. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah. Trying to go back to that original intention of what the federal government was supposed to be in the Constitution.
Okay. So would you consider yourself like a constitutional conservative? Like you want to see the constitutional ideals maintained?
Constitutionalist, I don't know if you know, there's the Constitution Party, and they refer to themselves as constitutionalists. I don't refer to myself as a constitutionalist myself, because I still think that the government is important when it comes to, for example, a national healthcare system. I think that universal healthcare is something that can be implemented. However, I believe that the Swiss model is the best way to go about that, because it still gives a lot of power to the states of how they want to manage that healthcare system. However, guaranteeing a national healthcare system is important. I think guaranteeing a national minimum wage is important in one form or another. So I want the federal government to go back to what it was supposed to intend to be. But also, I think with the developments of the modern world, there are some things that also the federal government has to be responsible for, such as protecting the environment and protecting people's rights, workers' rights, which hasn't happened. If you saw the recent railroad strikes and Congress shutting that down. But I think one of the biggest things that when I see the federal government and what it's supposed to do, it's to regulate corporations who are corporations are there to make a profit, right?
Mhm.
We shouldn't expect them to do anything other than that, and be humanitarian. And I think the federal government there is to regulate and help the people. And that's the best way I can explain the views.
Okay. So, what do you think about the relationship of the federal government? We've seen a lot coming out recently on Twitter about the FBI and how involved they've been in Twitter. So, I'd like to ask you, for communications specifically and for corporations more generally, what do you think of the government's current relationship with corporate entities? Do you think it's appropriate? Do you think it's too much? What would you want to see happen in the future with the government and corporate entities?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I think that I assume you're talking about the recent Twitter files thing that has happened.
Yes.
We have seen over the years the government try to using tragic events to make excuses to increase their hold on the United States and their surveillance on the American people.
Mhm.
That is where I think people make the argument. Usually people make the argument when it's in their favor, where it's like corporations can do whatever they want when it comes to their own platforms. But when we are talking about social media, which is now becoming almost one of the more dominant areas where people have political discussion, it's important that the First Amendment is upheld in these public areas. I mean, if you think about Twitter and these areas as a public square, in a way, is our another modern public square that people go to have discussions about some important issues about the future of this nation. And the
Mhm.
fact that the government and the DHS, I'm highly against the Disinformation Governance Board and what that was going to entail. I think all of that is what?
The Ministry of Truth part.
The
Yeah.
Ministry of Truth.
Exactly. I think all of that is right there. That is a gross overreach
Mhm.
of the government trying to survey the people rather than trying to be there to make sure that the First Amendment is upheld.
So I gotta ask there, Alex. I was in the military for 20 years, right? So
Thank you
when
for
it
serving.
comes to thank you. When it comes to political parties, I know that the military is a very it can be a divisive topic, but normally a lot of the people come together and do what's right for the military. I think that they want to do what's right for the military, and especially like for example in Ukraine right now, we have some politicians kind of veering off and not wanting to support Ukraine, with a majority of them still want to send them billions of dollars. As far as the Stair party is concerned, where would they fall on that nationally?
So that is a foreign policy concern, and where the Stair Party falls on that on the Ukraine funding is, personally, we think that there's too many there's enough issues at home. You know what I mean? We see billions of dollars being sent to this nation for basically a proxy war, if we're being honest, with how it's starting to develop. And where is those billions of dollars for the American people? That's what I'm thinking. You know, the amount of people that are living paycheck to paycheck is increasing in the United States. And for some reason, we can't give these people healthcare or better quality education. And as we know, education is the route to success and getting better training so you can get a better job. We can't give that money to them. And one of the some of the things I wonder is, there was actually recently a audit of the Defense Department in which 60% of their assets, I believe, could not be accounted for. And so you have to wonder to yourself, you know, when they make these fundings to Ukraine, what stocks are they investing in that to the companies that they're awarding this to, awarding some money to make the equipment to fund to Ukraine? How much of this money is just going to corporate pockets, or just going to the pockets of the of congressional members directly or indirectly. So obviously we don't have the information there for that, but it's always good to question more about that on that front. And at the end of the day, with all the issues at home and all this talk of, we can't afford this or not. And I'm a fiscal conservative myself, but all this talk of we can't afford this and that, and then yet we send billions of dollars to Ukraine. I don't really personally, the National Stair Party's stance on that, on the platform, is to end that funding stream.
I do believe it's a proxy war with Russia as well. I mean, I think I said that months and months ago. The money is outrageous going over to Ukraine. However, some people would say that it's a necessity to fight that proxy war.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because I think you're right, and I think everybody knows that it's a proxy war at this point. I mean, there's no secret. So in my personal opinion, as a former military guy, I would want to fight that. I want to fight. I actually want to just fight the war. I just want to get it out in the open.
Oh my goodness!
But I think. But that's just me. It really is.
Yeah.
We are actually running out of time. Amy, if you want another question, we can get one.
Okay.
I think we can get a couple.
Okay, so one more question, I guess. I guess what it really comes down to is trying to expand in Connecticut. Now, getting a group of people through to sign up in Connecticut. What would you tell people of Connecticut? Because really it's just starting to develop this affiliate. How many people do you need to actually have the affiliate work? And what kind of, if you're just joining as an affiliate member, say, for example, what kind of expectations would there be? Are there meetings? Is there dues? How many people do you need to actually call it affiliate? And what's your timeline for Connecticut?
Well, every state is different. If you went to California and you said, Alex, how many people do you need to start a state affiliate? I would say, maybe you should have around 7 chapters already, so it makes sense to start an affiliate. However, for something like Rhode Island, where it takes 40 minutes to drive to one end of the state, that's basically a county chapter in California. So for Connecticut specifically, we're really looking for a good core team. In my opinion, I think the way that you really get stuff done is you have a good core team of dedicated people that are willing to work. You know what I mean? I'd rather have 5 people that are really willing to put the effort in rather than 25 people that just say, I'm signed up to the email list. You know what I mean? And really, we're looking for all areas. We're looking for leadership. We want to make sure that we have someone young running it. It's not like a necessity. It's not a requirement, but we would like to see some young people in this party, because at the end of the day, when we're talking about politics, we're also talking about securing the future for future generations, to make sure that the United States that they live in is the one that they desire. Because they're the ones that are going to be living in the future, not the boomers. They're going to be, they will be
all going to die. Life is a terminal illness.
So we're, just hop on board. Basically, we're looking for anyone. Hop on board. If you're a social media person, you're a leadership person, want to start a local chapter, want to make difference in your local community, where all of you are wanted and needed for this effort. Preferably, I would like to see the entire population of Connecticut joining on this effort. One day, though, one day.
So what kind of, are you looking for a particular ideology, or just a willingness to kind of get along and talk things out?
We are an ideologically diverse party. We have conservatives, we have liberals, we have moderates in the party. We have people of all different ideologies, populists, you name it. It's just a matter of, and this is where that local platforms for local issues thing really comes into play, because while, you have these opinions on the national level, when it comes to Connecticut, where you live, and at the end of the day, your city council most likely has more power over your life than the federal government does sometimes. So at the end of the day, those issues don't require your opinion on the war in Ukraine. You know what I mean? And therefore, that's where you can see an ideologically diverse group of people come together, put their differences aside, and make some change on a local level. So that's my long form way of saying, as long as you're not racist or homophobic, you're on board.
Okay, well, thank you so much. This is a great and interesting topic. What is your website address?
Stairparty.org, STAIR party.org. Or you can just look up Stair Party on Google. We are the front page.
Awesome.
Wow.
Alex Darlington, everyone, the chairperson of
The Stair Party.
I
Thank
greatly appreciate you joining us tonight. I hope that you can do it again so we can get an update.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in Connecticut. I think we got some real interesting things happening on over there.
We can't wait. You'll definitely have to come back on and give us an update.
Absolutely. All right.
Okay,
All right, Alex,
good
thanks
night.
very much.
All right. Bye.
Wow, that was awesome. New party
Yeah.
coming in there, Dr. Chai, huh?
Yeah, I'm very excited to see young people who are, interested in making a difference. And it sounds like, he really wants to see people work together. And to me, that's where we have to start, because we have to live together. We might as well learn to work together too.
There's a word that Michelle and I used yesterday on the broadcast that, it was kind of a taboo word now, and it's compromise. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, compromise.
Who knew, right?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thanks very much for joining us. Get all your latest headlines concerning Connecticut by visiting ctpolitics.tv/headline-news. And follow us at CT Politics TV on all your social media. And that does it for us. We'll be back tomorrow night at 5 for Connecticut Politics Live. Thank you very much for joining us. For Dr. Chai, I am Jimmy J. Good night, and God bless.
Good night.
This is the home of the CT Strategist Report with Daniel Kent Newmeyer. Interviews with Connecticut's top leaders, expert political analysis, news, commentary. Gain the insider's perspective.